And now as we move forward to our second panel discussion, once again let me reiterate that post the panel discussion, all of you would have to scan your QR codes and answer the following questions, and the ones with the highest marks would be getting some amazing rewards from us. So please stay tuned as I would introduce you to the topic of our next panel discussion, which is Evolution to Revolution, AI and other emerging technologies for better governance. So with this topic, let me introduce you to the moderator, Ms. Sudeepta Veerapaneni, Partner and Chief Innovation Officer, Deloitte India. Can we welcome ma'am with a resounding round of applause? Also, let me introduce you to our panelist, Dr. Abhishek Jain, IAS Secretary to Chief Minister, Secretary Information Technology, Finance, Planning, Labour and Employment, Youth Services and Sports, Government of Himachal Pradesh. We have Mr. Divyank Singh, IAS Chief Executive Officer, Indore Smart City Development Limited. We also have Mr. C.K. Prasad, IRSSE, Dean, Indian Railways Institute of Signal Engineering and Telecommunications. We have Mr. Rohith, Gopidi, IFS, District Forest Officer, Nagarkurnool District, Telangana. We also have Dr. Shafqat Khan, Senior Public Health Specialist, Digital Health, AI and Ease of Doing Business, Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. We have Mr. Gagandeep Nanda, Sales Director, Government Vertical, Zscaler. And also Mr. Dilip Hanumara from Trigen Technologies. Can we give all the panelists and the moderator collectively a round of applause? Thank you so much. Over to you. Ma'am, it's a 40 minutes panel discussion and I would prompt you 5 minutes before. So without any further ado, let's hand it over to the moderator. Team, can we have the mics on stage? Yes, so it's a 40 minutes panel discussion and we would prompt 35 minutes before, post which we're also going to have the quiz. So please brace up yourselves as we get started.
Thank you so much. As the topic says, evolution to revolution, I really wanted to just speak about the revolution that we are looking at, right? And the most revolution that I have seen, at least in this generation, is the phone that we carry. And I believe the phone itself, if you are having an iPhone, at least a 15, it's equal to 100 times the supercomputer that was used for producing Jurassic Park. And all of us would have seen Jurassic Park at some point in time and really enjoyed the whole cinematic experience. So tech, in my view, is best and the most powerful when it is sort of bringing people together. And what best examples can we see other than seeing in the government and the way it is used in governance, right? So with that, I wanted to get started with the panel. And the way we have followed the trend is maybe 5 minutes per each one of you, given that it's a long panel that we have and we have 50 minutes to sort of cover everyone. But really, I'm excited to sort of hear your point of view and what is that you're doing in your space, in terms of some of the areas that you're working on. So maybe first, I'll start with Sir, Dr. Abhishek Jain. Sort of in your experience and the role that you're playing with technology, some of the areas that you probably have experienced, how emerging tech has been brought into the Himachal Pradesh region and how it has benefited the citizens and the impact that probably it has brought about. So keen to hear some of those with you. Yeah.
Thank you. Good afternoon. You all know that India is a very diverse country, and we know how digital technologies are being implemented in various parts of the country. In government of Himachal Pradesh, our endeavor is to take the technology to the last person in the last hill of the state. And we want that the benefits of technology are reaped not only by the urban, English-speaking and digitally literate people, but also by rural, illiterate or semi-illiterate and Hindi-speaking local people. With that thing in background, like in various parts of the country, various initiatives are under implementation. I'd just like to mention two specifically. One is the usage of drones for improving the governance in different domains. We all know that last year, the state of Himachal suffered huge and unprecedented natural disasters in which almost 800 people, they lost their lives also. So drones were extensively used for not only the safety and security and evacuation of stranded people, but also for various kind of innovative things so as to minimize the damage. They are also being used extensively in the latest elections also. The second thing which I would like to mention is the establishment of a GIS lab in the IT department of the state, where we are doing the thematic mapping using the latest ArcGIS softwares, and so that to geo-reference the various socio-economic and developmental data and provide it through our web portal services and integrate with all departments. We feel that in government, most of the things are not driven by data. Though we are the biggest producers of data, including census, which is the biggest exercise in the world, but to improve governance, data is not used to that extent. And perhaps one of the main reasons is the inability to use the data in the easiest possible manner. So with that thing, we are using the data to improve human welfare, and through these GIS labs, we are having the thematic mapping of different departments and providing these kind of easy to use data visualization so that the concerned person in the department, even up to the level of a clerk, can understand the real-time data and use them for improving the governance.
Wonderful, and I'm sucker for these, punchlines. I am going to borrow these, the tech for every hill. That was fantastic. So, GIS, drones, and the data that we are looking at, how to monetize some of those. So with that, I'll come to Mr. 𝗗𝗶𝗴𝗶𝗶, and this is a topic which is very close to my heart. I've been brought up in a family of educators. So with the emerging tech, and we are talking a lot about Gen AI coming to schools, and earlier today we saw they spoke about smart classes. So just understanding how in terms of how are we bringing some of these capabilities to schools, and then the other leg of it is how are we changing our curriculum to suit that, and also how are we looking at probably bringing educators to the same skill level. That's something which I'll be keen to look at. So Mr. Bhaskar, is he there? Okay, I don't think he's there. So maybe I'll go to the next one if that works. Or otherwise, if there is anyone else in the panel who would want to pick that, anything on the education that any of the governments are working on?
So first of all, thanks to the organizers for having me in this session. In my previous posting, we did a project on Andhra Pradesh 𝗖𝗍 Abhiyaan, where we connected around 352. We created a smart classroom infrastructure for 352 KGBV schools, 𝗖𝗍𝗶𝗶𝗃 Gandhi Balika Vidyalaya, across 13 districts of Andhra Pradesh. We used basically smart TVs and things like that, and we had our the content which was basically curated by the state government, approved by them, and hosted in our data center in Hyderabad. And this was for basically the girl children, Balika Vidyalaya, and who parents cannot take care of their education and things like that. And even they didn't have a basic infrastructure of chairs and all. And even toilets were sometimes not there in some of the schools. And these schools are very remote from the bus stand and the railway stations. They're in the agency areas. So with the help of Airtel and jointly with this thing, we deployed that. And within a year and a half, the pass percentage increased from 68% to 85% of the students, girl students. The problem was that Andhra had all contract teachers, and they were never attending the school. They were never taking classes because they were engaged in their own work, and they were never going there. So we facilitated through a telepresence system. It was on Cisco platform, where we connected all the district education officers, the chief secretary, education special chief secretary, so they can monitor what is happening there. And a teacher who is good in maths, let us say, a particular subject, he can take the classes for rest of the students because they are on a video platform collaborating on this. And this project was for 5 years actually, which during the present Chief Minister's regime of Andhra Pradesh. And we did this. And there was a lot of demand from those girl children. They wanted that they should be taught in English content should be provided to them because it was Telugu medium and things like that. And we worked with British Council and all and brought that content with UNICEF jointly. And they had a lot of aspirations. They come from village background and from parents who cannot have BPL families below poverty line. They wanted even, some of them went to NASA subsequently. So that was one of the greatest satisfaction what we had executing that project per se. So in education, the plan was to create an education grid, just like you have power grid or electricity grid. So state like Bihar wanted to join at that point of time, but of course you have to see that the political system has to be also brought on the same table, which is a difficult task basically in the government setting. Usually what happens is when you do a certain project, there are a lot of misgivings, first thing. And you have to really, for example, in the morning the panel was there that server band hai, या नेटवर्क डाउन है, तो सर्वर बंद किया, नेटवर्क क्यों डाउन है? क्योंकि आपने कभी उसको डिज़ाइन नहीं किया उस तरह से, हाई अवेलेबिलिटी, आपने रिलायबिलिटी डिज़ाइन ही नहीं की, आपने नेटवर्क में रिडेंडेंसी बिल्ड नहीं की आपने. You just started with something and then you started doing something. So the problem is when you have to really create an infrastructure or an asset, you have to basically take care of these things. Proper design, seeing all the tenets, principles of a good design should be factored in that. And then the system is robust enough. And you just leave the system, it works. Bring automation layer slowly, bring those things so that you reduce the manual intervention. And if the system is basically meeting the intended objective, you just keep on adding value over the period of time, that's it. It should be scalable, it should be modular, it should be reliable, it should have high availability, it should be fault tolerant. So these are some of the principles which are applicable for any system. Not only digital transformation or digital IT systems, but any system. So that's my take.
No, thank you for sort of doing a prompt on that one. But yeah, the great inputs for some of those aspects that you're looking at. Essentially, when you look at a digital transformation, right? Like Sir said, sort of when you're looking at building the future roadmap, planning out on some of these aspects become very, very critical, rather than starting with a POC and then sort of looking at scaling that going forward. So maybe I'll move to Divyank if he's there. Yeah, okay, great. So Divyank, I think Indore smart city definitely is, I think, among the best smart cities, at least in India. But my aspiration as a citizen, I would say, is that I want to see one of the cities as at least like a Singapore or a Helsinki in those leagues. But any sort of examples that you can talk about in terms of how you've been able to build some of those capabilities and the tech, around whether it is traffic management or anything around the utilities that you would have worked across, would be great to hear from you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here. And a very good evening to everybody present here and to all the esteemed panelists here. So the government, as we know from earlier, it has changed a lot. There has been a lot of involvement of technology, and technology has at the same time also allowed a lot of public participation. Not only on the basis of the technology and participation, but on a very larger level, the participation with respect to the money that government is having. Just to give you an example how it has changed the landscape of Indore. Indore being the cleanest city for 7 years straight, and now is trying to become the cleanest city in India. We wanted to cut down on our electricity expenses and move towards green generation of energy. And we wanted to have our own solar power plant. But it is, as we all know, we don't want to take any money directly, either from central government or state government. We on our own decided that we will be launching our own green bonds, and we'll ask, and it will be public issuance of green bond, and we will ask people of India to actually participate into it and give us the funds for it. We initiated it, and we became the first municipal body to do so. And within 3 hours, our bonds were oversubscribed, and we wanted 270 CR. We had generated more than 800 CR through the participation. This can only be possible because everybody is now digitally connected, not only for the cause, but also financially. So that is how we have generated that much amount without any help of central or state government, or neither taking any money out of our kitty. So that is the power of digital intervention and financial digital intervention. At the same time, talking about the cleanliness, which is Indore is famous for, we have our integrated solid management system at our integrated command and control center. Each and every tipping vehicle which is there, which is taking out 1,500 tons of garbage every day out of city, is directly linked and mapped through a digital road map, and everything is being monitored directly through the IRSSE center. So each and every tipping vehicle, where it needs to go, kahan se, where they need to get the garbage from, where the garbage will be collected, where it will be sorted, where will be the garbage transfer station, everything is digitally mapped. And if at all a particular garbage tipping vehicle is not there on its route, it is directly flagged at our IRSSE center, and then automatically an alert is generated to that particular daroga of that area, which is taking care of the cleanliness of that particular area, and then the thing is sorted out. Coming to the same point, how technology is also involved in our cleanliness, we always face this problem of manpower crunch in government, that there is manpower crunch and we cannot provide all the manpower all the time. And there are multiple community toilets and public toilets in Indore city. The population of city is now estimated to be around 40 lakhs. So a lot of public toilets and community toilets are there. And we couldn't supply the human resources to each and every toilets for cleaning. So we installed the ammonia sensing units in each and every community toilets and public toilets, which is directly connected to, again, our IRSSE center. Wherever there is a foul smell from any public toilet or community toilet, it directly senses and directly gives indication and alert to our own center, where we can depute our human resources from. So that's how deeply the innovation and the technology has seeped in. We are also doing tree census and mapping each and every tree that is present in Indore on a GIS platform. So we'll be having different layers. In GIS, we'll be having different layers of utilities that are inside the land, as well as trees which are above it. So in case, now when we are planning to make Indore the greenest city, we also need to plan. So there is also predictive technology. We will be having through our tree census, the data from tree census will directly go, and then through that predictive technology, we will get to know where to plant new green belts, and if we need to have new working plan for the city, where to plant how many trees, which ward has how much canopy area, which needs to be increased, which species need to be introduced. So at that level, the technology has moved in. Just another small example that we have in Indore, we are going to have TDR, the Transferable Development Right Policy, where a particular land, if it is taken by government, we will be providing them the equivalent amount of built-up area to that person, so that that built-up area can be sold in market, because land-to-land transfer is very difficult in government. If we are having a land, giving a land in lieu of a land is very difficult. So we will be providing the built-up area which can be utilized by that particular person or can be sold in real estate market. So we need to have a huge amount of digitalization of land records and automatic data fetching from that particular paper-bound document through to our system and to putting it on database through predictive technology is being used. And a lot of, we were talking initially about computerization. The government has moved much ahead of computerization, and now these technology through which we can directly fetch data from physical documents and then put it into our database, and then later on correlate with the data that we have in terms of trading of this transferable rights is concerned. So a lot of things, even in utilities, initially we were providing water, and then there was no tap on how much water is being utilized by whom. Now we have digital water meters, which is again linked to the SCADA system, which will provide us the detail of each and every household, how much water they are using, and where the leakages are, and later on, again, through this predictive technology, we can have the reassessment of our water cess that we put as a form of taxes, and the tax rationalization can be done. So sky is the limit when we talk about the digital intervention and AI intervention and intervention of predictive technology in governance, and it's usually benefiting both the citizens as well as the administrative structure. Yeah. Thank you.
No, thank you so much. I think in terms of the use cases that you have defined, if somebody is making a note of that, those itself is like a very good repository of use cases that one can implement. But considering, like you said, sky is the limit, it's more about identifying which are of more impact, which really give the the value out of the money that we are spending in. That's going to be very, very important. So maybe with that, I'll just shift gears and invite Dr. Shafqat Khan. And with his role in the government and as well as a health specialist, how he's sort of seeing some of these emerging technologies around quantum computing and how that can be leveraged in digital health. So sort of keen to hear your perspectives. I think it's not on. Yeah.
Good afternoon. I will dwell upon the healthcare element of digital interventions. And I will remind you of COVID-19. When CoWIN, app became one of the win-win situations, and we became global leaders by, that very particular innovation. The innovation was, anticipated to get you on board on the vaccination process and certify your vaccinations, both the doses or the booster dose as well. Having said that, healthcare has moved tremendously from then, and we in Jain, if you talk about figures, have been able to achieve such great indicators. Some of you may be surprised that we are right now the leaders in healthcare across the country. Say our infant mortality rate has dropped from 2017, it was 33, now it is around 16 infants for the population. And the TFR and the institutional deliveries and the vaccinations are almost touching 100%. Now why and how will digital help? Why is the traditional method of paper, now outdated? This is because digital is supposed to give you a seamless and accountable and a transparent network which will set up an ease for the citizen for accessing his records through the Aadhaar number, or fetching the history of the patient through the common Ayushman Bharat health account, or the Ayushman Bharat digital mission, which is envisaged also to change the landscape of the country, the landscape of the healthcare in the country. There are two great milestones we have touched in the last 1 decade in the health sector, and that is the Ayushman Bharat digital mission and the Ayushman Bharat PMJY, the universal health insurance. Health financing was not talked about. It was a gray area all through the past years. But then suddenly, the top leadership of a country thought that health financing was indeed a very gray area, and it needs to be, tactfully dealt with. And here came the PMJAY, where a household we have universal healthcare, where all the citizens of J&K are covered under the Ayushman Bharat Health PMJAY. And a poor man who would sell his ornaments, gold, everything, his, livelihood would get affected. He would get into debt. He can walk into a hospital and cashless get operated for any complicated surgery. So that is reality. Now, over the past 3 decades, life has changed. The digital interventions of the past years have paved a way for easy life. It is ease of doing business, basically, for a citizen. When he leaves his home, he encounters less traffic jams. He doesn't get stopped by the traffic cops more often, as the Principal Secretary Home, Telangana, was telling us, that there is no physical interaction between the driver and the cop. It is all on the virtual mode. If you are doing some, violations, you are being dealt automatically through the CCTV camera, and the challans are being sent to you on your mobile phone. You go pay online for the challans. So life has eased up. And I always ask people why, understand the need for digital. Digital because we want to ease the life of people. We want happy people. We want a happy country. Our happiness index is very low. We get frustrated once we leave home. We get caught in a traffic jam. We get to an office. We have hassles getting a license, getting a ration card, getting a transfer of documents. When our officer from the Madhya Pradesh government was telling us about the transfer system of land in their state, it gives immense pleasure that now all land records are being digitized all across the country, and a person can go buy property, sell property, and guarantee it on a government site where it's all verified. So it is, the end result is to ensure that a citizen gets ease of doing business, ease of living. We facilitate his everyday business in such a way that he ultimately becomes a happy person, a happy citizen. And that is what the accomplishment would be. Having said that, now I'll move to the other part of the discussion, that is artificial intelligence. In fact, when we talk about AI, I think we, in the general masses, don't understand the ramifications of AI. AI is huge. It is metadata, data. We are generating, this country with 1.4 billion people is generating so much of data. This can change the landscape of the globe, entire humanity, because we will derive so much of data in our country that the algorithms which will come out will set benchmarks for disease control, for n number of disasters, n number of issues, human issues which we see every day. So, AI, and that too quantum AI now, is going to be a big leap. And quantum AI will change the lives in such huge way that the binaries will become very small, the small algorithms will go very small. Our quantum AI will bring so much of huge intelligence and help to our systems, that it will indeed change our lives to a large extent. So I say it's an understatement when you say AI. AI is, a robot is operating on your eye. Who had thought about 20 years back that a robot will operate your eye? It will operate an appendix, or it will remove gallstones, or it will do a TURP or any other function. So once, having said that, as our colleague was here saying that drones is a very, also changing the landscape of our country, farming, agriculture, horticulture, other fields is being used. So having said that, I think artificial intelligence will prove a very huge boon, and it will help us reshape, especially when I talk about healthcare. We will be able to predict diseases. We'll do analysis on HMI systems. We'll find out the prevalence of disease we will make a better nation, a healthy nation by, all those interventions. And I think it is just up and coming. It's moving so fast that we are not even noticing it. 10 years back, you had to go to counters to fetch the airlines tickets, to pay bills. Now today you don't have to go to a counter to pay a bill. You don't have to buy a ticket from a counter. You just plan right now, you fly to Los Angeles or to any part of our country here, locally as well. So I think digital is the future, and the sooner we embrace it, the better it is. And vis-a-vis healthcare, when we talk about digital health, I think digital health is going to be a boon for ensuring transparency, seamless, delivery of healthcare, queueless healthcare with all those, government hospital in chaos. It will be a game changer for the entire system. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Doctor. And you quite beautifully summarized the evolution to revolution also. That sort of comes out very clearly. So with that, maybe I'll request Rohith. And this is a topic I really like the fact that they've included environment into the tech panel discussion as well. And as far as AI and some of these Gen AI platforms that we are thinking of, a single ChatGPT query, while it can retrieve a lot of information, but it can also emit a lot of carbon, and that is almost equal to going from land to the moon twice and coming back, right? So that's the kind of carbon it is emitting. So with that view in mind, Rohith, any thoughts around how you are bringing technology and making our forests a little more futuristic that way?
Thank you, everyone. Good afternoon. Before I actually proceed on the subject, I would just like to tell first certain things. I think in terms of sectors, if we are speaking here, majority of them are related to health, environment, maybe a little of environment, education predominantly. But you would see that the interventions or the penetration of technology in forestry sector as such has been very minimal. I think the major reason for that is, I think most of the people are still not aware how forests are managed and protected to a great extent, and what actually are the problem statements we have, and whether actually technology could be of some help to us. So before I proceed, like just for the basic understanding of everyone, so in forest hierarchy or administration, the lowest rung officer or the frontline personnel is called a forest guard. So he is supposed to do something called beat patrolling, and he generally is given in charge of an area ranging from something like 2,000 hectares to 5,000 hectares. So he is responsible for every single thing happening in that area. So any tree felling, any fire in the area, any animal signs in the area, you would understand that even walking, so his target, like we have something called code. So we expect that guard to move in the forest 26 days, all throughout night, day, see and ensure that nothing has been felled. So this basically, when you see in terms of evolution, you see that 50 years back, people who got recruited as forest guards were more than happy to take a ration in, go inside the forest, stay in the forest for 10-15 days, then they used to come out. Now times have changed. Most of our forest guards are today nothing but B.Tech employees. So they have all done engineering like me and you. So none of them would want to walk in the forest like how it used to be. And this creates a vacuum where obviously the exploitation will be more. And we have seen in this country, across the states, that forest area, the real forest area is actually dwindling because of the pressures. So how do you use your technology to protect it, both wildlife and this? So in contextual thing, 2005 and 6, India's biggest, like when we talk about forest department, the first thing that comes to mind is the tiger numbers. So everyone looks at what tiger numbers are being released. Prior to 2005-6, we used to have something called a pug mark method, where a tiger moves in a forest and a pug mark is seen. We generally collect the pug marks, and we used to mechanically, physically verify the size of pug marks. So we used to say, since this pug mark is bigger than the other one, so it is a unique tiger. And that actually has created a lot of issues where in some of the places where the tiger numbers had dwindled like 2-3, we were not able to find out. So then in 2005-6, task force formed. So that is, I think, one of the first interventions in forests where camera traps were bought in. So camera traps are devices where you put them deep inside the forest, and any object which moves, the camera trap actually captures the images, and where we can process the data later. So when we are doing that, we were collecting a lot of images. So that is how each tiger is unique by its stripes. So we started processing a lot of data. Now we started knowing the actual number of tigers. So there is nothing called human error anymore. But what happened with this is when the technology started to utilize more, the number of images started getting multiplied into millions. Like for in Ahmedabad, from the place where I work, we collect something like 2 to 3 million images a month from all our camera traps. And the basic objective was that camera trap images shall be physically be observed by the biologist, every single one of them, and then come out with a solution. So it actually was very difficult. So it would have taken something like 10-20 days before he actually found out something, like a poacher movement, some poacher carrying a sambar or spotted deer on his head. We used to know it like 2 months later. So what happened is, like Telangana IT department and forest department in collaboration, we actually had a grant challenge. And one of the startup from Pune actually got qualified, and they actually gave us an application where we run through the entire data set and we get output in terms of georeference, including any poachers, humans, or what kind of animals have been captured. So it has made us life very easy, something a human could have done longer end. So initially when I explained, the life of a beat officer has been very difficult, and now with changing times we are supposed to provide him help to protect forests. We cannot expect the present generation to behave in a manner where you expected 50 years back something is written in the code. So you would have seen how law and order functioning across the major cities have changed through something called CCTV cameras. But one bottleneck in putting CCTV cameras in forest is we do not have data connectivity. So the biggest blockade is that. And so now, since the first project with IT department was very successful, 2 months back we actually launched an RFP asking interested people with a concept note that we would want to do whatever camera trap model data imaging we were collecting was still a delay of 15-20 days. Like you collect data from the field, you put it in computer, you run application, then you process data, then you see the output. Now we wanted to do it real time and also negating the issue of the data connectivity. I believe there are a lot of people who are already exploring on it. This is the future of forest management. If you want your common property resource, forest, to be protected, you need the AI penetration to happen in the most sector, which is the most difficult one. And like if AI actually succeeds in ensuring a forest is protected completely, then I am pretty sure the rest of the things will be taken care. Because the amount of challenges you would face in ensuring that AI and the associated technologies work in a forest is actually humongous. And once you would cross them, I think the rest of the things, health, education, they're all pretty simple because you do not have issues of bottlenecks, image processing. Everything in forest is unique in terms of here CEO Indore was actually mentioning that they wanted to do tree enumeration from that. So we have this issue of fellings. And you would have seen recently forest fire is a huge issue in Himachal and other places. There could be predictive technologies which could actually tell us how to prevent fire altogether rather than fighting fire. So I would just like to tell that, because a lot of people who are working in a similar sector here do consider forestry as a place where you could actually innovate, because that is a place where I believe a lot of things could still be done which are not yet addressed. Because the problem statements are many. Forest fire, it could be research. There you could just process a health of an animal just through an image. So I think since the time is running out,
yeah,
I would be happy.
No, thank you so much, and they were quite insightful. I mean, that's a great perspective you've given. And just on the lighter note, like you said, younger generation doesn't want to go to the forest. We have a similar problem in the tech world also, right? People want to work from home and not go to the office. Maybe they feel the same about office. So with that, I think I'm already getting the signal, but maybe I'll quickly sort of between Gagan and Dilip, I'll want to hear their perspective about, with all this emerging technology sort of coming in, how do we sort of look at making sure it is a safe environment and bring in some of the cyber-related guardrails to be able to protect and make sure that, it's a safe environment for us to operate in.
Thank you so much. So I'll give you a quick use case. So we are working with the Ministry of IT, and their use case was that usernames, passwords, right? Even the multi-factor authentication nowadays get compromised. Once it's compromised, what is left? Nothing, because any group from outside can enter into your network and act as any one of us if they have the credentials. AI/ML plays a very big role there. So Zscaler cybersecurity, we have I'm giving you one use case. Take an example, you have a posture check, which is the user's behavioral pattern. That suppose any one of us have a behavioral pattern that we work around between 9 to 5. These kind of a keystrokes we put on the laptop. This is the applications we usually X. This is our registry file, you know. All these AI/ML can take place and they can note it down. So if any contextual or behavioral pattern changes, if anyone using our username, password, multi-factor authentication from anywhere, using any device, want to log into your application, any digital transformation platform, we can catch hold of him. That this person is not the same person because behavioral pattern is different. So behavioral pattern, contextual pattern, they are all AI/ML. So AI/ML can play a very big role. The only thing is how to use it, because every coin has two sides. It can be negative also, it can be positive. Negative in the sense, the same AI/ML, even the adversaries are using to get into your system. So it's always a, you know, you can cat and mouse game, you know, or chicken and egg story, that who is ahead. So you always have to do that, you know, marginal gains, minimal advancements in the technology. You can't be complacent. Aaj maine jo kar diya, that's good for next 5 years. No. Now the world has changed. Jayesh sir told in the morning that what he has not seen in 90 years, he has seen in 10 years. And I'm telling you, what you have not seen in 10 years, you will see it in next 1 or 2 years. So it is a race which we have to cope up each and every day. Digital transformation brings both the aspects. We have to take care of both the aspects. That's it.
Thank you so much. Dilip, maybe some closing remarks from you as well.
No, it was a very engaging discussion. I think you pretty much covered, you started with citizen services, you went to education, and then you went to the smart city, health, forest services. That's very insightful, right? So, and then you also covered the cybersecurity. But I think the one thing which is coming out through all of this is the understanding that data, whether it is relational data, whether it's image data, whether it's text data, data is foundational. And there are layers that need to be built on top of it, and it's a double-edged sword on both sides. But the maturity of the conversation, the understanding of the depth of what is required, I think is extremely high. I live in New York. Let me tell you, between the governments in New York, we do a lot of work in United Nations and the Northeast states and the federal government. The maturity of the conversation is much higher, right? So at a higher levels there, they have the understanding, but not in the conversations like this. You know, America leads the signal processing. That's true, but on a day-to-day basis for citizen services, they don't have this. I still go to the office to pay my taxes. I'm not kidding. In New York, I go to an office to pay my taxes. If I pay through a credit card, I pay a fee. There's no UPI. Right? So it's very empowering, you know, to be a citizen of India, to hear all of this. We are passport patriots. We still, after 23 years, I still carry an Indian passport. But I think what's coming out in both the morning conversation, all of this, is that India is by far ahead of most of the things that are happening in the developed world today. So the one last point which I want to cover is, for India to be Viksit Bharat, developed nation, or even to hit the GDP of 5 trillion, 20% of the GDP has to come from digital. That's the math. Every developed economy in the world today, US with 27 trillion, 20% is digital. India is not even close to be 20% of the GDP on digital. There's a long way to go. I'll close with that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and patiently hearing all of us. At least I am going back as much richer after hearing all of their conversations. These were very insightful. I hope you also had equal fun in listening to them. Thank you.
Oh, we thank the moderator, Ms. Sudeepta, and all the panelists for sharing your expertise with us. Can we give all of them a round of applause? And as we would want to felicitate, I would request Mr. Rajiv Bagga, India Head Government Business from DBS Bank India Limited, to please join us on the stage and do the honors. Can we welcome sir with a resounding round of applause, everyone? I need some more energy. Come on. Thank you so much. So very firstly, we'd like to felicitate the moderator, Ms. Sudeepta. Thank you so much for taking the session forward. We thank Dr. Abhishek Jain for joining us today. We also thank Mr. Divyank Singh. We'd also like to appreciate Mr. C.K. Prasad. We also like to thank Mr. Rohith Gopidi. We would also like to thank Dr. Shafqat Khan. We would also like to thank Mr. Gagandeep Nanda again. Thank you so much, sir. And we'd also like to thank Mr. 𝗗𝗶𝗴𝗶𝗶. Thank you so much, sir. Requesting the moderator and all the panelists to please step a foot forward for a group photograph. And to my wonderful audience, be ready, the quiz is on your way.